Coming up on Mountain News this morning, the Attorney General meets with people in our region to discuss the opioid epidemic here in the Commonwealth. And Kentucky social workers will soon have a bit more money in their bank accounts thanks to an effort to keep them here in the state.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good Thursday morning to you. I'm Dakota Makeris. Thanks for waking up with us. It's almost 5 o'clock on this cold Thursday morning. And speaking of cold, let's take a look at that forecast with Brandon. Brandon, another cold start. Now my car wasn't frosty this morning. I don't know about your car. I'm sure your car probably was. It always is. It always is. So yeah, so just take a minute, get those cars warmed up. I know I always take time out of my morning. I don't care how late I wake up, my car will be warm when I get into it.
Listen, I had to remote start mine twice this morning because it only lasts for 10 minutes at a time. So I did it, got in the shower, got back out, did it again, and it was almost ready to go by the time that I got in it there this morning. But anyway, it is cold out there. Temperatures in the 20s in some spots across the region there, and some 30s out there too. So 22 to 32, that's basically our range. Actually 33 this morning there. Just noticed that in Jackson. So that's our range this morning as you head out the door. Chilly morning to say the least. As we see the out the door forecast, we're not going to see a whole lot of action today. I think we see a mix of sun and clouds with more of one than the other at times today. And temperatures top out in the mid 50s. So a warming trend underway. More on that forecast in just a little bit. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, one judge executive in our region says he will serve out his term but will not run for another one. In a Facebook post, Martin County Judge Executive Victor Sloan said it was not an easy decision, but says his health is starting to decline following a cancer diagnosis several years ago. Sloan says he is proud of the work that has already been done and said he believes, quote, Martin County's best days are ahead of us, end quote. Attorney General Daniel Cameron met with Harlan County Chamber of Commerce Wednesday to discuss plans to help Kentucky with the opioid epidemic. The Attorney General said there is new help on the way coming from a global settlement with AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, and Johnson & Johnson. But in order to prove the entire state is in this together, they need each city and county to register for the National Opioid website.
Well, part of my job is I travel across Kentucky, and we have been trying and endeavoring over the last year or so, especially since the pandemic has sort of slowed down. We've been trying to get back out to our communities across the Commonwealth. And part of doing that, I've been trying to be a cheerleader, so to speak, and encourage our counties and cities to sign up at that National Opioid website.
He also thanked those that have signed up for the website, but continues to encourage those that have not to do it soon. Well, it's been an ongoing trend, lawmakers cracking down on distracted driving with new legislation. But Kentucky's been in the slow lane. Currently, it is only illegal to text and drive in the state. Drivers are still able to make a phone call or use their device while behind the wheel. A draft bill would make using your hand to operate a personal communication device while driving illegal, and also prohibit drivers from unbuckling their seatbelt to reach for a device.
You notice even when you're on the roads, you'll see a lot of people swerving back and forth on the roadway over the center line, things of that nature. And I'd almost say 9 times out of 10, you'll see a cell phone in someone's hand.
Lawmakers cannot make any decision on proposed legislation until the next legislative session begins on January 4th, but sponsors of the bill say if the General Assembly adopts this measure, there would be a grace period for where drivers would receive a warning. The Carroll Act has passed in the House. Congressman Andy Barr has spearheaded this measure in Congress. Now it's named in honor of his late wife, Carol Barr, who died last year from a sudden cardiac arrest. The Carroll Act would put more money toward research for valvular heart disease. Yesterday, Congressman Barr said this will honor his wife by saving lives.
Well, we want to save lives, and we want to give families with loved ones who suffer from valvular heart disease, specifically mitral valve prolapse, the tools to know whether or not their condition is life-threatening or if it's a typically benign valve issue.
The bill would also call on the CDC to increase public awareness on valvular heart disease and ways to prevent sudden cardiac death. Now the bill still needs to pass in the Senate. Well, we are now in flu season with activity typically peaking between December and February. Well, a person infected with both COVID and the flu is likely to have a very rough time since each one attacks the lungs. They also both cause more severe illness in people with underlying medical conditions. The impact on public health as a high demand for care could potentially put a strain on emergency resources and hospital beds.
It's important for folks to know that it takes almost 2 weeks for a vaccine to build the full immunity of the antibodies that we're asking the body to deliver. So it's possible you could become sick in that 2-week period. All the more reason not to wait. We want to be proactive and get our vaccines done well before the flu hits our community.
Now, the CDC reports 41% of adults have gotten a flu shot, along with 39% of children. Well, Kentucky's social workers are getting a boost in their pay. Now, Governor Andy Beshear talked about his plan to recruit and retain social workers yesterday. Now, just this year, the Department of Community-Based Services lost about 600 employees. Last month, a group of 50 protested at the Capitol. They met with the governor, and yesterday, the governor announced he is using money in the current budget for a 10% pay increase for social workers.
Many times provide money out of our own pocket to, suffice for certain things, even for families and children that a lot of people don't know. A lot of things is unspoken.
Well, the governor says he will propose a loan forgiveness program for social workers to attract more hires. Well, 5 new buses will now be added to the Floyd County Schools fleet. Floyd County School officials are planning a long range of purchases of 5 buses a year to help with the state recommendations. Superintendent Anna Shepard says school staff want only the best for their students, and that includes the best transportation possible. Well, thank you so much for getting your Thursday morning started with us here on Mountain News This Morning. When we come back, a man is arrested in the Big Apple after allegedly setting fire to a Christmas tree belonging to a major news network.
A warming trend is on the way for the next couple of days, but that could lead to some severe weather this weekend. I'll track out the approaching front in about 3 minutes.